Hi, good day, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join our webinar today. My name's Alex. I'm the International Trainer, and I'm going to be chatting to you guys about the Ubiquiti Access Control products. So as with any of our webinars, please feel free to ask questions along the way. We do highly encourage it. And as we've done in the previous webinars as well, if you have any suggestions for different types of content that you would like us to cover, please feel free to pop that through as well. So today's webinar obviously focused on the access control products, and it's a bit of a breakdown of the different types of products that Ubiquiti have in that space. And basically we're going to be seeing the features, advantages, etc., as well as a little bit of a technical look into how the products are set up and where they are meant to be used. So with that being said, we're going to delve straight into it and start taking a look at the Ubiquiti ecosystem. I think as a general place to start, this is probably the best to get going and get an overview of how Ubiquiti products stack up. So just as a starting point, I think everyone obviously knows the Ubiquiti products from the networking side of things. So most of the people attending today would likely have used Ubiquiti in one form or another. More often than not, it would be on the networking side where you are using access points, using switches, etc. And that's pretty much what most people are familiar with. Obviously, Ubiquiti has an entire ecosystem out of that as well. So they do, for example, have Protect products, which is more on the surveillance side of things, Access, which is access control, and that's going to be our primary focus for today. And then the Talk side of things as well, which is on the VoIP side of the Ubiquiti brand. Just in regards to Talk, we've said this at our previous expos. If you've attended one of them, Talk is coming to Australia. We're busy finalizing the details on that, and we hope to have some news for you shortly in terms of how that's going to be positioned. So basically, these are the primary product stacks that Ubiquiti typically have. But Ubiquiti also have other product stacks that most people don't think of when they think about the brand Ubiquiti. So for example, Ubiquiti do digital signage solutions as well. And the nice thing about these are that they are PoE based. So you can set up monitors and basically have digital signage displayed on a monitor that is PoE powered. And they also have a adapter that allows you to basically turn any TV into a digital signage solution. In terms of mobile routing, I think this is a very exciting thing for a lot of people. So basically, they are trying to get into the 4G slash LTE space. It's not going to be the device shown on screen. There is a new Ubiquiti 4G capable device coming out shortly. Do stay tuned for that. It's already been approved in Australia, so very much looking forward to seeing it. And then EV stations or EV chargers specifically. I feel like everyone's doing EV chargers these days, but Ubiquiti have some awesome EV chargers that tie into the rest of the Ubiquiti ecosystem. And then obviously they are still very strong in the outdoor wireless space. So on the WISP side of things, or wireless internet service provider things, they do still continue on with that product stack. So those are the primary verticals that Ubiquiti typically focus on. And obviously, like I said before, the primary one we're going to be focusing on today is the access control side of their product range. Just before we get into this, so just as a quick heads up, this webinar will be recorded today. So if you missed anything, don't worry about it. We will share that out directly afterwards to everyone that attended and didn't attend as well. And in terms of the questions, I will be answering all the questions at the end, so just as we get into it. Also, do stick around. We do have a prize right at the end. Someone's taking home a Ubiquiti access point, so we will draw the prize at the end. Okay, so talking about the access control products from Ubiquiti. So Ubiquiti says it's access reimagined. I kind of agree with that that name for it. I think Ubiquiti have really changed this industry. Most of the access control systems that I've ever worked on have very much been stuck on legacy interfaces, difficult to manage, difficult to really take control of and to work with. Like a lot of the interfaces are very much based in legacy systems, so you need like command line prompts to program the devices, etc. So that technology is been around for a long time, and Ubiquiti is trying to change the way this works. And they're trying to simplify the user experience. And as we know with Ubiquiti, simplified IT management is the name of the game. They want you to have a simple network setup and basically be able to use this without having a degree in access control. I think for most people, if you've ever worked on a Ubiquiti product, such as the access points or switches, etc., this would feel very familiar. The access control side of things has virtually the same interface, and it ties into the same ecosystem as well. So you can actually see your access products in the network portion of the Ubiquiti controller as well. And basically you can see the IP address assignments, etc. if you wish, to make it a lot easier to know where your devices are connected to, etc. So a simple network setup. And I think this is actually quite in stark contrast to a lot of the other systems where a lot of people are struggling to work with older technologies like RS-232, etc., and are not very confident in a command line interface. So Ubiquiti is trying to completely get rid of that portion of it and trying to make it as simple as they can so that normal IT administrator that isn't specialized in access control can use this too. So we still need a way to obviously interface with analog equipment, and Ubiquiti does enable this as well. In terms of the actual GUI, so like I said before, the interface super straightforward. It provides us with a really nice, clean overview. And again, if you've worked on the networking products, you'll know how these products work as well. So Ubiquiti does a range of door-based access control. They do readers and controllers on that front. They've also recently introduced a bunch of new intercoms as well. So for residential use or apartment complexes, it's a very handy thing. And they even now added one for gate control. I think a lot of people missed the announcements on that. So that's a very, very new one. And we'll see that product in a moment as well. So, like I said before, the most important thing here is that it uses relatively the same interface as everything else in your network. And if you've worked on one Ubiquiti product, you can typically work on the other. It's all integrated, one solution, one single pane of glass, and everyone uses that word these days, but it's basically a single interface that you can use to navigate through everything. And this interface gives us a nice, easy way to do stuff like track employee attendance. So basically, as people are coming in and going throughout the day, you can see how frequently the doors are used, who's going in and out, and get reports on their movements as well. So you can do reporting on time and attendance information. And now, more recently, you can also tie that back to video footage as well. So if you have security cameras that are positioned at the door, you can synchronize the badging in of someone to the video footage that is associated to it. Makes it really easy. It provides us with pretty granular control over the doors and access periods as well. So we can, for example, do stuff like holiday periods. We can set up guest access control, and basically we can assign guest privileges even before the guest gets there, which I think is a quite unique advantage. Makes it simple for people to gain access to the premises, and it can be your employees or people going into an apartment complex or just a guest arriving at the building. So in terms of the building entry solutions, there's a couple of different ways to do this. There's many options. So the preferred and probably the easiest way is on the mobile app. Basically, you just tap the button and it unlocks the door for you. Employees get access as part of their identity management app. We are going to talk about that in a second as well. And basically, the administrator just has to enroll you once and you have access to whichever doors you should have access to. They can then just tap on the door if they want to open it. And as a little bit of a sneak peek here, Ubiquiti have uh, indicated or shown, I'm not allowed to say, that the readers may in future support facial recognition as well. So I'm saying all this in air quotation marks. Don't hold me to it. I don't know when and I don't know on which products, but it looks like facial recognition is on the cards for them. I'm just a fanboy and hopeful, so I really hope to see that coming out from them. So those are the access methods. I made a mistake there. Let me just go back to the slides. And basically, there's a couple of different other access methods as well. So the first and probably easiest is to just use the NFC on your mobile device or just tap on the application that's on your phone. So if you have NFC enabled on your mobile device, it's very easy to do it that way. It's really fast to get into the door. Alternatively, a lot of people will still prefer the key fob style access. And I do like the key fobs as well because it's something easy that you can attach to your keys. It's difficult to lose, and you don't have to worry about if your mobile device is charged or not. It's just something that's passive, and you can very easily use it to gain access to the building. And of course, all of this information is logged again, so you can keep track of when people are coming and going. So I think it's probably one of the most important ways to access the building. The other method as well as obviously is with access cards. Um, so these cards are quite unique in that they are programmed on the readers themselves. And basically you don't need a special external programmer to program these cards. It makes it really simple in terms of adding new cards or more cards onto the premises or to your employees. And as an alternative to that, if they don't want to use access cards, you can also set up PIN codes. So you can say, for example, that if someone's only going to have access to this building for, I don't know, a week or something like that, you can set up a PIN code to say, okay, cool, this PIN code is valid for 7 days, and that PIN code is associated to a specific employee or group of employees if you prefer. So it's pretty handy, and there's a new method as well, although it's not shown on screen, where you can even create QR codes that get sent out to guests before they arrive at the building. So when they get to the building, they can literally just open up the QR code that you've sent them, and as soon as they swipe it in front of the camera, it unlocks the door for them. I think that's a pretty nifty way to do it as well. So those are the access methods, but obviously we need to have some sort of reader as well, or some sort of device to pick all this up. So there's many different flavors here, but it's not like some of the other brands where there's thousands of different products. It comes down to a couple of different products, just a handful, and it primarily gets determined. The device type primarily gets determined by what door you're connecting this to. So where is this reader going to be deployed? For a front door, for example, we would typically want to have a full reader, something that's nice and pretty, with a big screen that'll show you the information about where you're trying to access. And it gives you more access methods. So you can use PIN codes, NFC, etc., etc. So all the different access methods we talked about a second ago. What I do love about the readers that they are showing here is they're also quite thin. One of the big complaints with the first generation access control products were they were quite thick, which means if you're trying to put this on a door frame, it often overlapped either onto the door side or onto the building side and really didn't fit into that frame. The new ones, Ubiquiti have listened, they've made them a lot thinner, and I was actually quite surprised the first time I saw these things. I don't think the videos really do them justice. They are quite narrow in terms of how they slot into the door. And I think they look amazing. I mean, if this is something that's on the outside of a building, I'm immediately impressed by it. So for a front door, you'll obviously want the full reader, but for an internal door, you want something more basic, perhaps just something that can do NFC or just a normal reader slash wave your hand in front of the reader to get access or leave a certain area. So as an overview of the different types of readers, again, not a million different flavors here, but the two primary ones are the G2 Reader Pro and the G2 Reader. The Reader Pro is basically the big full-fledged one on the left-hand side here that has all the NFC capabilities, all the PIN codes, etc., all the different access methods we were talking about before. It's the second generation Ubiquiti Access Control reader, and it is also now weatherproof. So you can stick this outdoors on the outside of your building and it will work. It has a integrated camera, it's NFC capable, and a nice big screen as well. So you can also make this device obviously ring through to reception. So for example, if you have multiple administrators or multiple people in the company, let's say the receptionist has gone to lunch and you want to still be able to open the door if someone comes to deliver a package or something like that, you can add multiple accounts onto it so that when someone swipes the button on the screen to ring through, all of them get a notification and all of them can decide whether it should be opened or not. And it's quite well thought out in terms of how that works. It's not similar to the ring style devices that people keep referencing this to. Those don't typically have door controls. In other words, they can't trigger your mag locks and strike locks and stuff like that. So whereas these devices can. For internal doors, we want something typically a little bit more basic. The G2 reader is a very good option for that. or even the reader light, as you're seeing on screen on the right-hand side as well. So the G2 reader is also just NFC, or it can function as an exit button. You just wave your hand in front of it. It's IP55, so it is slightly weatherproof. You have to have it under an awning though. We typically recommend this for like internal server room access or something similar, internal access. The reader light, same thing, also NFC or an exit button, but it's not at all weatherproof. So again, if you're just looking for a simple device where you just want basic access, that's probably the best way to go. Of course, all of this needs to connect back to something. So there needs to be something that controls all of this. So for the most part, the readers themselves don't have the analog interfaces that are needed to control the doors and alarms, etc. So that's where the access hubs come in. So the hubs are either sold as a bundle with the readers, or they can be purchased separately as well. And these devices are the primary devices for interfacing with doors, alarms, push buttons, motion sensors, door position sensors, wet and dry contacts. That is the primary brains behind controlling the different doors and interfacing with legacy systems. It can even connect to external sirens or automatic door openers as well if wanted. So the best part here is that you can now scale this as well. Previously, you had to have one of these controllers per door. Ubiquiti have just introduced an enterprise version, which allows you to control multiple doors as well. So the readers come in a couple of different flavors, as you would imagine. The most basic is for just controlling one door with a couple of alarms, etc. And this is the Access Hub. That's pretty much the one you're seeing on screen. Don't worry about the model numbers if you're not sure. Again, like I said, we will share this video out afterwards. If you need to quickly take note of the model numbers, we'll have it there as well. We normally recommend buying these things in a starter pack. So that's the image you're seeing on the right-hand side, where it includes the reader or two readers, a couple of access fobs, etc. It typically gives you a bit of a saving in terms of if you were to try and buy everything separately. The best part here is that virtually all of this is powered via PoE. So you just need one cable running from your switch to this controller or this hub. And then from there, you can take that PoE power and pass it through to the readers as well. So those two readers that are connecting downstream from this are just getting powered via PoE. And the reader itself even has a 12-volt relay, so a 12-volt 1-amp relay. So if you want to do basic mag and strike locks, it's a perfect solution for that. It can even power those things as well. Of course, you can even connect up cameras to this directly on the hub. So if you have a camera that needs PoE power and it's close to the hub, then you can just relay it straight off there. It can pass through that PoE. Obviously, it needs PoE++ in, so nice big strong connection to power all of the connecting accessories. For controlling more doors, Ubiquiti has an enterprise version of their hubs. And basically, this allows you to do up to 8 doors. It has all the same features in terms of integrating with alarms, etc. And these will typically be installed more centrally. So if you have multiple doors in a, let's say about 100-meter proximity to each other, this is the device that you would typically go for. What's cool about this as well is it's got a PP45 connector that allows you to connect up a backup battery. So if you want to provide power backup to this device, you can do that via an external battery. On the other hubs, we don't really need a battery as much because we typically have power redundancy in our server room on the switch side of things already. And because it's just using PoE, we don't need to have a battery on at the actual hub itself. The limitation here is obviously still 100 meters in terms of Ethernet connectivity and your PoE range there. The dry contacts could potentially go a little bit further depending on how you're setting this up, but this is primarily the way to power it up. Recently, Ubiquiti have also started looking at more building automation style controllers. So for example, they have a version that is meant to be used with elevators. And this hub is basically, it's just got a lot more contacts on the side of it. So it's got 18 relays, which means you can do up to 18 floors. And again, if someone swipes their access card, they can just get access to that specific level. It's a good way to tie this into stuff like hotels or buildings with multiple levels. And basically, it does a whole bunch of elevator related things as well. So for example, it can do car position inputs, so it can tell you where the car is at. There's emergency inputs as well, so if someone presses the emergency button, it can do the car status as well, so it can see if the car's going up or down. I can see if the car is stopped. I can see if the car is full. And I can even see the door status of the car as well. And of course, this can power a camera as well. So if you have a camera in the lift, it is a good thing to be able to connect that up as well. Ubiquiti also now have a version of their readers that is a little bit unique. It doesn't abide to the rules of the rest of them. So I said earlier that for the most part, Ubiquiti doesn't have a device that don't have the contacts on them. Well, this is the exception to that. So this is brand new. And basically what it is, it's a tamper-resistant access reader with a built-in hub. So you can connect your doors directly to the reader itself instead of having to rely on another controller. So it can connect up a lock terminal up to again 12 volt 1 amp, and you can even connect up a exit request input as well. So you can unlock this via NFC, or alternatively, if you just want to have a hand wave action in front of it, you can do that as well. Again, it's still IP55 rated, so it can be used outdoors under an awning or something like that. Make it usable there. Of course, you can now pair the readers with cameras to have an integrated security solution. So as someone's badging in for the morning, you can refer back to the video footage and see whether the person badging in is actually the person that is on the video footage. We see this a lot where people give employees their badge and they just tag in for everyone else. And this is a very good way to tie that back and just see that seamlessly. Of course, a lot of the readers do have a camera on them, so you can pull the video footage from that directly, but it's nice to be able to tie this back to the video surveillance as well. And then obviously the software needs to be resilient. I think this is probably the most important thing to mention here is Ubiquiti has done a lot of work on the maturity of this product because this product is an extremely important thing in terms of health and safety. So if, for example, there's an emergency, you don't want people to be able to or to be locked into a specific area. And inversely to that, you don't want people to be able to just easily unlock all the doors. So Ubiquiti have built controls into this as well. So you can take the building to a lockdown state, in which case it locks all of the doors, or you can do an evacuation as well, in which case it unlocks all of the doors depending on what you want to do. Again, you can share this across multiple accounts. So if someone's not at the office, someone else can trigger this event to happen if you wish. So like I said before, this is extremely important for not getting people trapped into spaces, and this also has support for holiday mode as well. So you can say, for example, that in certain instances, the holidays, etc., should be tied back to this. In terms of that emergency exit or override, Ubiquiti also have some hardware on this as well. So they have a keyed emergency override. Basically, you can trigger a door to open with that. And for most of these products now, you have a redundant power option. I mean, if you're just using the normal hubs, then it's a nice and easy thing because you're just connecting it straight back to PoE. In terms of the different starter kits, so it's the G2 Starter Kit Pro, which is the one we primarily sell. The G2 Starter Kit, which is just the regular G2 reader. And then they've obviously got the elevator version as well. So these are the primary ones, and they are quite useful. And then we've got the different readers. Of course, you can buy them separately depending on your use case as well. So in terms of the locking, this is obviously still a very important part of it. Ubiquiti does provide locks, so they provide mag locks as well as strike locks. I generally would recommend that these be bought externally. The Ubiquiti ones we don't actually even stock, and the main reason for that is the shipping kills it. It is extremely expensive to ship. It's a large and inexpensive product, so the shipping is really bad on it. So we generally don't get them, but you can buy them extremely cheaply everywhere, online and in most of the electronic shops as well. So this is still how you want to connect this. Do you want to set up fail safe or fail secure? So basically, if the power goes out, what do you want to have happen? Does the door need to remain open, or does the door need to be closed, what needs to happen with that door. Your maglock choice or your lock choice typically determines this, so it's an important thing to think of. And then Ubiquiti is also now doing more residential access. So this is another area where it's very much stuck in the 80s and 90s in terms of the technology. Um, the readers are very old-fashioned typically. So the new readers that Ubiquiti are building are meant to go on the outside and provide access. It even has a built-in floodlight and can be used on the outside of a building. So, for example, this can be used at apartment complexes where you want to call a resident in that apartment complex. It's got a nice big touchscreen with audio and a camera built in, and you can dial people from the directory to say, hey, I'm at the front door, I've got a package, or I'm coming to visit, or whatever the case is. So you can see who's at the door from the resident's side because it has a viewer as a part of this as well. So this is the viewer that would typically be inside the apartment complex. So you can also, again, if you have guests coming, you can very easily allow those guests access before they even reach the door. Or if you're not at the house but you still want to allow access, you can just unlock it from your mobile device. In terms of the different readers, so it's literally just the one on the left-hand side that's meant to go on the outside of the building, as well as the one on the right-hand side that is meant to be inside an apartment complex, for example. And then as something brand new, this has only been, or only going to be officially launched on the 19th of July. So you guys are getting a bit of a sneak peek here, but basically this is Ubiquiti's new gate control system. So it uses the same reader as um, the intercom solution, but the hub that comes with it is more geared towards garage access or normal gate access. So same thing, same access methods, but the relays, etc., are set up to control garage doors or boom gates, etc. So it's a very cool solution. Again, when we get news on the official availability, we will share a little bit more stats and information around this product. I think it's a very cool use case for it. Okay, something that is critically important to mention here is the use of Ubiquiti's UID. So previously there was a limitation on the access control products where you could only have 5 users set up at a time for free. That limitation has since fallen away, and you now have a free version of UID built into your Ubiquiti controller. Obviously, you still need a controller in your environment if you want to make use of all of these systems. And basically what you can do with this is set up employee access as part of the same process as setting everything else up. So if you're creating access for them in terms of Wi-Fi, VPN connectivity, etc., UID is the application that you use to do that. Same thing for door access. So you can set up multiple doors for one employee, for example, and there's no limitation in terms of the number of employees you can add on to this. Ubiquiti does have a enterprise version of the UID app that is paid for, but this version that is embedded onto the controller is absolutely free. So this is great for IT administrators because it means you have one-click employee onboarding. You don't have to worry about setting up different systems to give people access to the building and then a completely different system for charging their EV, for example. Everything integrated into one solution. And then as with everything else on Ubiquiti, this is all license free. So there's no additional licensing per users or anything like that. It's completely license free. And of course, as part of this, you get the built-in security, especially if you're tying this back to your Ubiquiti gateway, which has security features and functionality built in. The credentials are also stored onto the controller locally. It doesn't get stored off-site anyway. It's a single pane of glass, easy to manage. You can do easy SD-WAN as well, so if you want to connect up multiple sites. And of course, there is comprehensive support available on these products. In terms of the deployment, this is probably the thing that I love the most, is that you can do the bulk of the deployment through just your mobile phone. So if you're a technician, you're out on site and you need to set up the system, the primary adoption and setup can just be done through your mobile device. You don't need any special tools. You don't need specific programming knowledge. It is extremely, extremely easy to do. And like I said before, in terms of the security side of things, so the slide's actually a little bit outdated, but Ubiquiti have a ton of protection for your basically your backend systems. So to make sure you don't get threats and to make sure your access credentials are stored securely. And that's pretty much the overview of the Ubiquiti Access product range. I think it's pretty self-explanatory and simple. But I love the idea of them adding on to this. I just also want to mention that it is one of the fastest growing segments for Ubiquiti. They said to us that it's almost matching the pace of the access point solutions that they sell. So it is a massive segment and a big focus for Ubiquiti moving forward. Okay, with that, I think we can quickly do the Q&As, and then directly after that, we will jump into the prize draw. So give me a moment here while I open up the questions. Okay, cool. Tons of questions. I love it. So a question here from Matthew that asks, how secure and tamper-proof are the readers? So many of them do have an IK rating, so they will tell you what the panel protection rating of those things are. So they do have it on, if you're unsure about the technical specifications, they do have it on techspecs.ui.com. So if you just want to make sure what the rating is, it will be listed there. Generally speaking, they do have vandal resistance depending on what you're getting. Is the paid version of UID available in Australia? So unfortunately not yet, or not officially. You can sign up for a trial and it does work, but they haven't added payment gateway integrations to Australia yet. And also that UID version is currently hosted in Singapore, so there's data sovereignty questions around that. So they look like they are planning to officially bring it to Australia. I just don't have a timeline on that yet. It's a good question, Rob. And there's a question here from, so tons and tons of questions. It's good. So for the questions that I don't get to, I am going to reach out to you guys after the fact as well, so we can get you the answers that you need. Do you know if the G4 Doorbell Pro will be getting the NFC fingerprint reader / enabled? Simon, it's a good question. The Ubiquiti forums are full of people asking the same thing. It is an important thing, and I think Ubiquiti is getting a fair amount of flack for it. I don't have any insights on if they are going to be doing it or not. I certainly hope so, but yeah, it's a big question mark. And there's a question here from David again. Is the elevator access system similar setup for access control? Elevator system is virtually the same. It uses the same GUI, it uses the same interfaces, etc. It is nearly identical in terms of setup. Okay, and there's a couple of questions here that go into a fair amount of detail. What I'm going to do is, there's a question here from Ron at the top. When will the VoIP phones come to Australia? Good question. So we are working with Ubiquiti on bringing this to Australia. So Leader's obviously got the Breeze Connect portion to it as well, and we're hopeful to bring this to Breeze Connect shortly. There is an integration component to that, and also just as a FYI on that, it's not going to be just proprietary to Breeze Connect. I think for the start, it'll probably be the first provider that we add in, but there will be more added in over time as well. Okay, so good question here from Neil that asks, what are the minimum Ubiquiti network devices required for the solution? So that is a good question. So what you need is basically a controller. So that would be something like a Ubiquiti Dream Machine or Dream Wall, any type of controller that supports access. So access is listed as part of the device application lists, and basically the UDM pros, etc., should be able to do this if it supports access. Obviously, you need a PoE switch in order to power the hubs and basically power the connecting devices to that as well. And then you need the access control gear. So the hub, the readers, and then obviously the network cable that goes along with that. And that's pretty much it. And there's, again, no licensing fees on any of that. Last question here from Mark. Mark asks, when will the EV chargers be available in Australia? That's actually a very good question. The EV chargers, we've tested them and they do work well in Australia and they are even certified. So I'm not sure if it's just a stocking problem or if there's some legislation that's preventing that. What I will do as well is just check with our product manager to see when that will become available. Okay, and there's a bunch more questions around the enterprise licensing, etc. Sorry, I know it sounds like I'm trying to avoid your questions. I promise I'm not. Wayne, I see your question there as well. I'm going to reach out to you guys directly after the fact. I'm just conscious of everyone's time, and I know some people are sticking around for the prize draw, so I will be reaching out to you guys on the questions. So with that said, let me quickly open up the prize draw, and again, I will get back to you on all the questions asked.